Okay, I thought I'd go ahead and do my overview and mini review for Warriors Orochi 4. Now, there is a lot to cover here, so I'm not going to be doing a ton of gameplay. I'm going to just be demonstrating the mechanics, and then we'll go from there. I'm actually still under embargo, so I have a bunch of raw gameplay footage going up. So that should solve that problem. So the first thing I should probably tell you guys about is the training room. Now, this is a really useful feature, especially with the sacred treasures and things like that. You actually have a way to just easily test things out. Now, I have a solid state drive, so it does load a little bit faster than it would on console or whatever, but you can get here pretty quickly and test things out. I'd say the biggest fault it has is that it doesn't have an officer with like a bunch of health. Like you have this guy here. Like if you try to use a Godspeed attack on him, he gets you get repelled just like you would with a regular officer. You can't practice your combos on something with more than like 2 HP. But it is nice to come in here. It's also nice how it actually gives you your full moveset, even if you don't have that character's stuff unlocked. So you can come in here at the level 1 character and you can have their full moveset. So it's nice to test them out. I mean, most of us have probably used these movesets multiple times at this point, but if you haven't, or you want to test them out with weapons, or you want to test out synergies with the sacred treasures, this is probably the best way to do it. Now, the sacred treasures are a mixed bag. I don't think they're as bad as other people say, but they are definitely flawed. I think that the biggest problem with them is that most of them just aren't good. There are some that are just borderline unusable. Like, go ahead and show you right now. Let's go back into training mode, actually. You can see just how bad they can get. Now, this is the Talaria, or the Hermes sandals. Now, this looks great for, like, closing distance, crossing distance. But the problem is the hitbox is like a hair on their tiny toe. like their small toes, like toenail, is like the hitbox of it. So like something right here, like see this guy right here, goes completely over him. Now what's worse is this attack here. It basically does no damage on officers because it doesn't really carry them very well. You can really only use it against like the wall here. Like if an officer is over here by the wall and use it, it will do a little bit more damage, but the problem is that you can't even defeat the Chaos Origins with it because it does so little damage per hit. So if your favorite characters, I've got 2 of my favorite characters here, I've got them all decked out, but I still need to have somebody with a good Sacred Treasure because these guys basically can't complete basic tasks. Like they can't use their charge magic on officers and have it actually do damage, and they actually can't take out the Chaos Origins at all. The Chaos Origins in particular are very annoying because if you don't fight them fast enough, what they'll do is they'll buff everyone else and they'll give them armor and a massive defense buff. So you want to take them out as soon as possible, and also if you have a high combo, you also get a 1000 experience scroll and access to the Rage mode, which is Divine Power, which you can also use for the defecation mechanic. So if you have 3 characters with these boots, then there's really not a whole lot you can do. Basically, like there's maybe like half of them are usable, or they have some kind of practical use, and the rest are just like trash or like borderline like usable. And that's kind of the problem here. Also, there are no more aerial R1s, so that does definitely take out a bunch of aerial opportunities, which is kind of interesting because you can actually switch in the air now. Like if I do stuff like this, you can switch in the air as much as you want. So if you have characters with an aerial-centric moveset like this, then you can kind of incorporate it that way. But the problem is there's no aerial R1, so a lot of the depth of the aerial combat is pretty much gone. Now the Rage mode works pretty much like it did in the respective Dynasty Warriors or Samurai Warriors games. If you're using a character with defecation, I believe there's 8 of them, if I remember correctly, then they'll transform and they get like regenerating Muso and a different like unique Muso attack, like this attack here. But that's basically it. I think the people complaining about those mechanics haven't really played the game. It's pretty underwhelming. I mean, it's nice to have if one of your favorite characters has them, but like 8 of them have them and there's 170 in the game, so the odds aren't really in your favor, although the characters they did choose are some of the more popular ones. So I'm going to go ahead and change my team here, and I'll show the other mechanics. So speed type is pretty much the same. In their skill tree, they have an ability to air dash twice, which is great for closing distance. You can also use the iframes to kind of mount the fence, especially if you're using like a Samurai Warriors character, since they all have that like Helmbreaker charge. But there's characters like Zhou Yu and Ling Tong that can use it as well, although Ling Tong is a tech type in this game. Now, tech types, they basically got consolidated into the Wonder type, meaning that all the Wonder type characters, or not necessarily, the types got changed around quite a bit in this game, but basically there's no Wonder type anymore. Everything got consolidated into techniques, so you actually have the Agi Dash and the Shadow Dash with the technique types. So that makes them a lot more usable. Tech types really haven't been great for a while. They were really good in Ultimate if you had the Heavenly Sash, but you know, that was like a post-game item, and if you didn't ever get that item, there's not much reason to use a technique character over speed or Wonder, because their like class abilities were far better. Now, power types still aren't too interesting to play, but they actually have a guard cancel now. And you do it by holding R1 or L1 during the attack. You can even use it to do kind of like a poverty jump cancel like that. Just takes a little bit of muscle memory. So that was like a C3, and then hold L1, then quickly get out of the guard and jump. So they are more interesting to play. They're still the simplest characters in terms of like the mechanics and stuff. I don't really care to use them that much, but it definitely does give them a bit more of an edge than they had before, where they were some of the weakest characters in terms of the depth and the, you know, capabilities they had. So the weapon system is vastly different in this game. Basically, the enemies and the weapons will have elements on them, and you can basically put those onto a weapon as you see fit. Now you can also disassemble a weapon and you'll get pretty much all of it back. So it's theoretically, it is easier to transfer abilities from one weapon to another. However, if you're using a level 4 weapon, or this gold one like I have here, or the unique ones, which I'll get into later, then you'll have to use crystals to max out their slots. Now, everything under those final 2 weapon levels or ranks, you use money, or the gems, to increase the slots. But basically, you don't have to grind for slots anymore. Ideally, if you want you know, to save some resources, you pretty much just hope that you'll get a good weapon that has multiple slots, so to kind of minimize your crystal use, because you need to use those for the camp upgrades as well. So there's not that many new ones. Most of the new ones are tied to the new Hundun or Pandemonium battle system. I have a couple here. Like here's the Storm, which generates like the little wind slashes when you fight. It's actually really nice. Sometimes it can actually cover your back. It allows you to do combos that wouldn't otherwise be possible. And it's also fun to just see it proc too. Any character that has a lot of multi-hitting attacks, it's definitely good to put it on them, because it will proc like almost every time. I don't know what the rate is. You actually can't increase the rank or level of the gold abilities unless it's one of the combination ones. Like these are the ones from Ultimate. Like there's Ice Wind, Flame Wind, etc. You can actually increase these to level 10, but all these other unique ones you can't. So there's a couple here. These ones give you crit to normal and charge attacks respectively, but it doubles your damage. This one revives you once, which can be nice at the beginning of the game, or any mission with the deification officers, because they can pretty much just one-shot you whenever they want. This one gives you hyper armor. And a lot of the other ones are pretty much the ones from the last game. And once you progress to Chapter 4, you actually can buy most of the abilities from here, which definitely reduces the grind. It's kind of like a equivalent exchange thing. Like, you can't just dump a character into Chaos, clear it in a few minutes, and then just get the best weapon. What will usually happen is you'll get a bunch of abilities, and then you can combine that onto a weapon when you find one. But all the best stuff only drops from the Pandemonium battles, so you will have to do those. Basically, they're the same thing as the other story mode levels. The only real difference is that Hundun will spawn, and if you kill him, he will drop a rare element. And also, you can't heal normally. However, there are ways to circumvent that. You can use Absorption. There's also another one here. Yeah, this one heals you for every 1,000 hit combo. I've only seen it proc once. I didn't really use this ability on the Japanese version, so I can't really comment on it. But basically, you're going to want to run it with Absorption. Let me see if I can find the tutorial here. So basically, he appears at random. When he appears and what map he appears on is random. However, the way this game works is the farther you're in the chapter, the more like abilities can actually drop, along with the frequency and rank of them as well. So if he spawns in Chapter 1, it's basically pointless to even bother fighting him because the rank of the weapons is so low that basically nothing will drop. Like, Chapter 2 is borderline. Ideally, you want him to spawn in either Chapter 3, 4, or 5, because that's when he'll actually drop pretty decent things. Like, if he spawns in, let's say, the first level, which is basically a tutorial. Like, I actually did it here on this version when I got my key, and it didn't drop anything. So, don't always rush to do Hundun. Like, pay attention to what map he's on, and what chapter he's in. Like, if he's in Chapter 2, then there's a small chance that he'll drop something decent. But from what I understand, certain abilities will only drop in Chapter 4 and 5, respectively. So, you definitely want him to spawn there, but it is worth doing the other ones as well, because you can get the combination elements. You can put Storm on a bunch of your characters, which is probably a lot better than Typhoon. Typhoon doesn't really seem that great in this game from what little I tested it. So the skill trees are kind of disappointing. The way they marketed it, it seemed like it was going to be far more interesting than it is, but basically the skill trees are exactly the same. They're identical per type. Like, this is the one for the speed types. And if I go to tech type, it's going to have all the same things across all the tech types. Same for power. So I think they could have done more with that. It would have been nice if there was more of a, unique abilities available on the skill trees to kind of differentiate the characters. But unfortunately, it's pretty much by the numbers. However, you only have to get to like level 12 or level 13 to get your full moveset. So that is nice. You don't have to really grind at all. You can actually use the growth system here. Like, if I put him up to level 13, I should be able to get his full moveset. So it doesn't take that long to get the full moveset in this game. There are also numerous ways to increase experience as well. There's also this training facility, which allows you to get various things. I actually can't show you right now because they're still out on their mission. On the next battle that I do, they will come back, and they'll come back with a bunch of materials. But I'm actually not going to do a battle in this video because it's already getting kind of long. But it is nice to send the characters out to these, especially once you get the ability to send them out to the better ones, and you can send them out to 3 at the same time, because you can basically get a bunch of weapons and elements at the same time, kind of knock out a bunch of objectives at once. Now, the camp system is where most of your money is going to be going. Between this and buying elements and spending money on increasing slots on the lower ranked weapons, that's basically what the gems are used for. Now, they have certain requirements, like these ones required a bunch of, I think basically you had to unlock a certain amount of officers. These are the hidden characters. Like, see, this one says here, fight in 10 or more battles with any officers. Speed, power, type, or tech, etc. I'm not exactly sure how much these buff them by, but it doesn't really seem that significant. For the most part, you want to definitely get over here so that when you get to Chapter 4, you can actually buy pretty much all the weapon elements and reduce the grind. It's actually really easy to make a weapon in this game. So, let's go ahead and do that right now and actually show how easy it is. Need to find somebody with a rank 4 weapon. So I just spent 5 crystals to max out his slots, give him some absorption. Max agility. Give him storm. Aggression is one of the best attack up or attack increasing abilities because you're pretty much always going to be on 300 combo in this game, and as far as I know, it actually stays as long as the combo is active. So if you're using the switch combo system, you know, liberally, then you'll pretty much have it on at all times. So I tend to put this on every character. There's one for defense as well, but this game's balance is kind of foobar. Like, there's certain attacks that will just one-shot you regardless of whatever your level is or your defense and whatnot. Like, Hard and Chaos don't really have much of a difference in this game. The balance is really out of whack. Like, Defecated or Defied or whatever, Lu Bu, he has this giant radius attack that will one-shot you no matter what. It's pretty dumb. Like, this game is either, like, piss easy or it's just, like, really balls hard in some cases. Like, sometimes you'll get the Griffins, like, they can kill you from one screen and whatnot. So, I don't really spec in defense. I mostly just go for the kind of glass cannon thing, which is pretty common for Musou games. So I think I will give him Might. And then he needs Bolt as well. Get rid of Ice. There you go. So he's got a pretty standard build here. He has Absorption, which is pretty much a must in this game because you do take a lot of damage. He's got Bolt, Slay, Wind, standard stuff, Agility, Aggression, which is new. I put Might on him. I'll probably put a gold ability here later. And then Storm is nice for him because he still has the... let's go ahead and show the Storm ability, actually. Sometimes it doesn't proc. There you go. So if you use that on a character like this, you know, he still has that weird quirk where he's kind of like a fighting game character. He actually can't continue in his combo unless he makes contact with somebody. It can actually be really nice because the Storm proc will keep them in hit stun, so you can turn around and continue. Of course, it's not proccing when I say that. I do wish you could kind of increase the rate of the rare abilities, but unfortunately you can't. You can only put it on once. There's no stacking it. Now, the switch combo system actually got revamped quite a bit. It made it a lot easier to chain combos together. Basically, this tornado comes out. Also, you can kind of group enemies together as well and wait for them to respawn. So what I'm going to do, you pay attention, I'm going to use his C3, and then as soon as he goes in the animation, I'm going to switch combo, and everyone will get grouped to the center. Like that. You know, grabs in Musou games are usually useless, but his, is, for whatever reason, actually has that nice, like, vacuum ability once you switch out of it. So the Sacred Treasures, basically, they have a normal attack and a charge attack. Now the Gleipnir is one of the best ones because it comes out really fast, covers a good area in front of you and a little bit behind of you as well, and allows you to start a combo. Now there's also the charge magic, which is basically a charge attack with the magic system. And if you're next to these things and you hold R1, it will charge it up instantly, but I've like played this game twice now on 2 different versions. I almost never use it. So there's the unique magic attack, which is basically just like another Muso. I think the problem with this mechanic is that it takes too many resources. You need a full magic bar and Muso. No, it's not as useful as it could be. I think they could do with tweaking that a little bit, kind of relaxing the requirements so that you could see them more often, because for all intents and purposes, those are like the only new attacks in the game, really. Pretty much everything else is just recycled assets from the previous games. However, if your favorite character got decloned in Dynasty Warriors 8 or Empires or Samurai Warriors or whatever, then they will have their new weapons. So there actually are quite a bit of new movesets in this game. Like you have like Sun Quan has his new moveset, Neon sure does, so on and so forth. So there basically are no clones. The clones are basically Dodomeki and Diamondback, who has an Orochi X moveset. Aside from that, everybody else is unique, so it's basically 168 unique characters in this game. The problem, you've heard everybody else who bought this game or played it on the Japanese version, is that basically there's all these characters and there's nothing to use them on. It's like the equivalent of having like 2,000 TV channels and there's nothing on. It's basically the same thing. All there is in this game is there's the story and there's the Fortnite, you know, Battle Royale, whatever thing that's basically already dead on arrival. So once you beat the story, all you can really do is just optimize your characters, which, depending on your patience and how much you like optimization or maximization, that's not really going to add a lot of material replay value. We are getting challenge mode next week, so hopefully that will help. They haven't really given any details about that or anything. I will be buying the season pass, so I'll cover that when the time comes. But for now, if you're looking for a really content-rich, high replay value Muso game, there's many others that you could probably get right now for cheaper than this and will last you a lot longer. This game pales in comparison to Ultimate in terms of unique content and post-game content. There's basically none here. You can kind of do the Hundun or Pandemonium battles, but the problem is those are random and you have to go through a bunch of regular levels to get those to spawn, so it does feel kind of boring. I'm not really sure what they're going to do. I mean, Dynasty Warriors 9 has improved exponentially since that came out of, I guess you could call it early access, with all the patches and optimization fixes and stuff they did. I have faith that they will do that here. The season pass is a little bit lackluster. There's a bunch of vehicles, there's pointless costumes, there's a challenge mode, the Sacred Treasures next week, which will hopefully fix a lot of the garbage characters. And I think that's basically it. Hopefully they will expand upon this game with patches. Anyway, that's the gist. That's basically my overview, my mini review. I really like playing this game. The pacing is all over the place, though. The levels can be cleared usually in under 20 minutes if you're playing pretty well and you have well-optimized characters and your combos are on point. But a lot of times you're constantly stopped by talking. Basically, the levels in this are very, very scripted. There's basically no way to speed things up or complete an objective and kind of change the way that the map will play out, like a lot of old school Muso games. So it's basically going to be the same thing every time, which gets really boring. I really can't count that many maps on this that don't have a whole lot of talking. I actually struggled to find one for my raw gameplay video because a lot of times you'll be going super fast, you'll be chaining things together and things like that, and then you get stuck at a gate for a minute waiting for them to talk to open the gate. It just gets really old after a while, which is why this game desperately needs a an end game mode without the story, without all the talking. Now, there's one final thing I should address here. The horse is tied to the magic system, so you push R1 and X, and it spawns. You can actually cancel into it. So, this is one of the things that makes the pacing really great. You can even do stuff like this. So you pretty much can cancel into everything in this game. Now, in terms of the balance, I should probably show this off before I go. The Samurai Warriors characters are crazy in this game because the Godspeed attacks attach elements on each swing or each attack. It's crazy. Now, the Godspeed attacks have been very polarizing, and they've had definitely a varying amount of usefulness. But in this game, they're crazy. Like, this is my Kotaro. He has Appraisal, basically a farming character. He has Storm, standard stuff. But he has Agility 9. You take out this guy so I don't get blocked. You see how fast his Godspeed is. It's actually attaching elements on each one. So you can like proc Storm and Lightning and Bolt, etc. and Agility on each one. So it's nice to have a Samurai Warriors character just to travel around so you don't have to use the horse that much. The horses are pretty slow in this game. There is a like an early access bonus, or I think it was a pre-order bonus on the Japanese version. I think they're giving that out on this version too, but the Season Pass is also supposed to have some fast vehicles as well. But you do stuff like this, you don't even need a horse. Just find a character with a fast Godspeed attack, double air dash, or if you have two of them, you can actually switch between them and just cover ground way faster than a horse. Overall, I think they improved the mechanics quite a bit. This game's kind of like an old school like Capcom CPS2 fighting game, where it's like all the sprites are the same, but you know, they drastically change the mechanics and stuff between games. That's basically what this is. You know, it's basically all the same movesets you've used before. There's a Sacred Treasure system, which can either make or break a character. A lot of my favorite characters, like my boy Ling Tong here, he's stuck with this garbage. But you know, you can still use them. It's not like they're unusable. It's just they're a lot less enjoyable to use if they're stuck with a bad Sacred Treasure. So I think the DLC will definitely fix it. I'll let you guys know about that as soon as I can. But I basically covered all the bases there. That's my overview and mini review for Warriors Orochi 4. I'll be putting out more raw gameplay and whatnot throughout the week. Thanks for watching. Peace.